is, I was just explaining to Dave, if you imagine the top of Dave's head has got a line on it that's connected to a weight that's just dangling in between his feet. Easy. Alright? And he controls that with his movement of his mass. So if for example he drops his chin onto his chest, then that plumb line's moved, I don't know, half an inch forward. And if he pulls his head back, it's moved back. So if he tilts his head right back, and I give him a tiny little bit of pressure, it's very easy to push him over because he's right on his heels. Now if he moves that plumb line, kind of so it's in between his feet, and I give him that same amount of pressure, it's a different story. I'm just giving him a tiny bit of pressure because I'm trying to encourage this out of him. I'm not trying to push him over. Now if he relaxes his hips back, because most people are stood there with legs locked and hips locked forward, so if you relax your hips back and soften your knees, and then think up through the spine, now I'm giving that same amount of pressure, and it's hard to move him. At some point he's going to try and fight me back with his leg, and that's where he tenses it up, and that gives me a lever to push against, so I can push him off his leg now. So come back and then just try and relax his leg and soften that even more. Yeah, that's totally different now. So another way of thinking of this is, so as Dave slowly gives me a bit of pressure, if I was stood like a board, what happens is I just tip. So if I shift my mass slightly so it's in between my feet, I soften my knees, my hips, and I lift it up from the spine. Now as Dave slowly increases that pressure, what I want to do is feel as if that force is going, I'm sitting on my femur heads here. I can even stick my bum out. Notice how that affects Dave. As I move, stick my bum out, it's affecting Dave's balance. So if Dave applies more pressure. Now if I'm nicely grounded like this and he isn't, guess what happens? Keep pushing. It means he's going back. As long as I shouldn't be pushing back, because if you suddenly let go, I fall forward, and I don't want that. But what I want to do is thinking up through the spine, letting the hips come back, and I want to be able to take quite a lot of pressure. And this, where we're going with this translates to the generating power of the punch, but also dealing with pressure if he's fighting me here and he's trying to push into my arm. Of course, I could step out of the way and he falls forward, or I could lap him into a counter strike as well. But we're starting from scratch and we're just doing a little bit of stance. But initially, we learn to absorb pressure into our feet so that we can choose when to step or turn. But then it's also we can then generate power because we have this base.